parent is responsible because they guide and oversee the child's actions.
How much control can a parent reasonably exercise over an older teenager?
It is not only antithetical to good conscience, it is morally and legally wrong.
This policy would likely prompt parents to take a more active role in monitoring the child's behavior.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this, our third encounter in round 2 of the 2025 Caribbean Union Bank Inter-Secondary School Debate Series. Of course, this is a production of the Ministry of Education Broadcasting Unit. Tonight, we look forward to a stimulating exchange of ideas as our teams engage in a debate that is both timely and thought-provoking. The mood for this evening's debate is parents should be held criminally responsible for the behaviors of their delinquent teenagers. I repeat, parents should be held criminally responsible for the behaviors of their delinquent teenagers. Both teams have prepared extensively and are eager to present their cases. This evening, we have two schools, the Antigua Girls High School, who will be proposing this evening's moot, and the Clear Hall Secondary School, who will be opposing. We now turn to the debaters and we invite them to introduce themselves. We begin with the proposing team, the Antigua Girls High School.
My name is Kiara Frank, and I am the first speaker for the Antigua Girls High School.
Good evening. My name is Jada K. King, and I'm the second speaker for the Antigua Girls High School.
Good evening. My name is Kira Samuel. I'm first speaker standby for the Antigua Girls High School.
Good evening. My name is Jador Roberts, and I'm second speaker standby for the Antigua Girls High School.
Kindly welcome the team from the Antigua Girls High School. We will now meet the debaters from the opposing team, the Clear Hall Secondary School.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Pimentel. I am here representing Clear House Secondary School, and I am the first speaker.
Good evening. My name is Daisha Henry. I am the second speaker representing Clear House Secondary.
Good evening. I am Noah Gilpin. I'm the first speaker standby for the Cleo Secondary School.
Good evening. My name is Maisha Trotman. I'm the second speaker standby for the Clear House Secondary School.
Kindly welcome the team from the Clear Hall Secondary School. Adjudicating the debate this evening is an esteemed panel of judges who will assess the teams based on their presentation, delivery, strength of rebuttal, and teamwork. Our judges for this evening are Miss Sharon Herbert, Social Sector Planner within the Ministry of Social Transformation, Mrs. Heidi Francois, educator for over 20 years and now currently works within the Education Broadcasting Unit, and Mr. Kieran Murdoch, Communications and Administrative Officer for the NGO Integrated Health Outreach. Please give our panel a round of applause. A gentle reminder, as I always do, ladies and gentlemen, that the judge's decision is... The judge's decision is... Very good. Thank you. Before we begin, let's go over the debate format. First speakers from each team will have 5 minutes to present their arguments. A bell will sound once at the 4-minute mark and twice at the end of the 5 minutes. Second speakers will have 3 minutes to conclude their team's position. A bell will chime once at the 2-minute mark and twice at the end of the 3 minutes. Rebuttal speakers will have 3 minutes each to challenge their opponent's arguments. A bell will sound once at the 2-minute mark and twice at the end of the allotted 3 minutes. Our official timekeeper for this evening is Miss Aisha Lynch. Please give our timekeeper a round of applause. Now it's time to begin this evening's debate. But before we do so, we will pause to hear from our sponsor, Caribbean Union Bank, and when we come back, we will hear from our debaters. Please stay with us.
Driven by you, we're better every day. Driven by you, together a brighter way. Caribbean Union Bank, you matter to us. Caribbean Union Bank, our people, our purpose. Every day at Caribbean Union Bank, we are committed to creating the kinds of products and services that you want and need. We are not just a bank. We are your partner on your journey to financial freedom and success. Because we are driven by you. Driven by you, we're better every day. Driven by you, together a brighter way.
Welcome back to this, our third encounter in round two of the Caribbean Union Bank Intersecondary School Debate Series. If you are just joining us, you are just in time to hear the beginning of our debate this evening. This evening, we have two schools, the Antigua Girls High School, who is proposing this evening, and the Clay Hall Secondary School, who is opposing. Debate the moot. Parents should be held criminally responsible for the behaviors of their delinquent teenagers. To begin, let's welcome the first speaker from the Antigua Girls High School. Please, a round of applause for Miss Kiara Frank.
Madam Moderator, esteemed judges, worthy opponents, listening and viewing audiences, good evening. My colleague and I fully propose the motion that parents should be held criminally responsible for the behaviors of their delinquent teenagers. Prior to presenting our arguments, let's define key terms according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Parent, a person or entity that owes to a child a legally imposed duty of support. Criminally responsible, holding someone liable for acts against the state or society according to an interview with attorney Arthur Thomas Jr. Delinquent, of, relating to, or characteristic of persons who regularly perform illegal or immoral acts. Teenager, an individual ranging from 13 to 19. I will argue that parents should be held criminally responsible for their delinquent teenagers' actions because of parental legal responsibility, influence of parents on children, and the potential for positive impact on crime prevention. Madam Moderator, judges, the law recognizes that parents have a duty of care. Regardless of the severity of the crime, whether violent or petty, parents' inaction can still lead to their liability for negligence. By failing to act or intervene, parents are complicit in their child's wrongdoing, making them criminally accountable. In such cases, the law should hold parents responsible for their omissions, especially when they are aware of their child's wrongful actions but fail to take the necessary steps to prevent them. The law already recognizes that children cannot make fully informed decisions for themselves because they lack the maturity and experience to understand the consequences of their actions. For example, if a teenager took up their parents' car or even a firearm due to easy access because of negligence on the parent's part, should the teenager alone be blamed if something dangerous were to occur? Or should a parent who failed to secure these things bear some of the accountability? After all, if parents are responsible for providing guidance and structure to their children, should they not also be held accountable when their children cause harm due to negligence or lack of oversight? Secondly, moderator, it is said that the home is the first classroom for a child. It's a place where things like basic life skills, such as dressing themselves, eating properly, and hygiene should be taught. In addition, important values like kindness, honesty, respect, social etiquette, and safety awareness should also be taught. In fact, a study by the American Psychological Association Division shows that children notice every little thing and watch their parents constantly. They develop both good and bad behaviors from watching, listening, and imitating their parents. Therefore, the character of a child is heavily influenced by parents. Parents are responsible for who their children become, and so, by default, their actions. If a parent fails to give proper guidance to their child, why should they not be punished for neglecting their duties as parents? Lastly, holding parents criminally responsible for their child's behavior could significantly decrease crime rates by creating a stronger sense of accountability within families. When parents are directly tied to their child's actions, don't you think it would encourage parents to take a more proactive involvement in their child's upbringing and supervision? This policy would likely prompt parents to take a more active role in monitoring the child's behavior, thus setting clear boundaries and seeking help if needed. Additionally, knowing that their actions or lack thereof could result in serious legal consequences may encourage parents to address issues before they escalate. As a result, reducing the likelihood of minors engaging in criminal activities, leading to a long term decrease in crime rates. If parents knew that their failure to act could lead to serious legal consequences, don't you think they'd be likely to step in and prevent their child from engaging in criminal behavior? In essence, if we allow parents to escape responsibility for their child's actions, are we not enabling a culture of neglect and apathy? Who else can we blame? The school? The church? The government? It's certainly not solely the child whose legal age renders them incapable of full accountability. Should we just shrug and let chaos reign? Or do we demand that those who brought these precious children into the world, who shaped their values, are held responsible? Without parental responsibility, what message are we really sending? Is it not that irresponsibility is acceptable? The law must stand firm because without this, we risk, Madam Moderator, raising a generation who believe they can act without consequences. I thank you.
That was Kiara Frank, the first speaker from the proposing team, the Antigua Girls High School, presenting her argument in a time of 5 minutes and 11 seconds. Now, let's hear from the first speaker from the Clear Hall Secondary School. Please welcome Catherine Pimentel.
Good evening. My colleague and I are here to oppose the motion parents should be held criminally responsible for the behavior of their delinquent teenagers. I refer you to the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary for the denotative meanings of the keywords. Parent, a person's mother or father; criminally responsible, the legal accountability for committing a crime; behavior, manner of conducting oneself; delinquent, a young person who tends to commit crimes; teenagers, a person who is between 13 and 19 years of age. Madam Moderator, my esteemed opponents, distinguished judges, listening and viewing audiences, good evening. The moot necessitates a careful analysis to ascertain whether or not parents are criminally liable or culpable for their teenagers' negative behaviors. Instantly and intensely, I affirm my informed objection. My intention is to consider 1. Criminal liability, that is punishing the wrong person; 2. Why punish responsible parents? This is a miscarriage of justice; and 3. The socioeconomic vulnerabilities or economic disparities. My colleague will climax her argument by exposing how 1. Punishing parents is no deterrent to juvenile crimes; and 2. Proving how criminalizing parents will aggravate rather than ameliorate the problem. We categorically reject this all encompassing generalized claim that parents should be held criminally responsible for what's an absurdity. Firstly, my worthy opponents, let me ask this pertinent question. Why hold a parent criminally responsible when the legislation of Antigua and Barbuda does not? The Child Justice Act, number 23 of 2015, stipulates and provides unambiguous guidance on this issue. Actually, Madam Moderator, the Act states that the child age of criminal responsibility is 12 years of age. Worthy opponents, this is instructive. If the court from 12 years old, a child is criminally accountable, why are we here distorting the statute by holding parents responsible? Furthermore, honorable judges, by holding a parent criminally responsible for their child's actions, we are punishing the wrong person. Really? Is it acceptable that a child does the crime while the parent does the time? Wrong message for our children. In an interview conducted with Inspector Morgan of the Youth Intervention Unit, she stated, and I quote, "Blaming the parent makes it more likely for these children to commit crimes in the future. When society blames parents solely for such acts, it gives a child a false sense of security. thinking it's normal to commit crimes. End quote. Secondly, Madam Moderator, why punish responsible parents? I dare say this is a miscarriage of justice. Worthy opponents, won't you agree that many or most of us as teenagers have been beneficiaries of healthy parenting? Reflect on that for a moment. I'm sure you're grateful for such parents. Therefore, honorable judges, it is inconceivable that anyone in good conscience can make such a sweeping and outlandish statement that parents should be held criminally responsible for their children's actions. Worthy opponents, closer to home, St. Lucia's parliamentarians are questioning the fairness of criminalizing parents for their children's actions. Independent Senator Daley Lee openly challenged the equity of a proposed amendment to St. Lucia's Childhood Justice Act. The senator stated, and I quote, "When we begin proposing prosecuting parents and creating liabilities, we are entering a slippery slope." End quote. Victoria Kane, author of the article Punish the Parent Laws, states it best. Punish the Parent Laws violates a fundamental principle of common law. One person cannot be punished for the acts of another. I will go a step further. Not only shouldn't one person be punished for the acts of another, but no parent who has given all and done all humanly possible to train up a child in the way he should go, as the Bible instructs, deserves to be held criminally responsible if the child resorts to delinquent behavior. It is not only antithetical to good conscience, it is morally and legally wrong. Honorable judges, another alarming fact to consider in the socio-economic vulnerabilities or the economic disparities of low-income parents. According to a study conducted by the UNICEF titled The Well-Being of Young People in Antigua and Barbuda, it suggested that an estimated 29% of the population are poor. Madam Moderator, more specifically, the same study revealed that 24% of children ages 0 to 17 and 25% of adolescents ages 10 to 19 are living in poverty. Numbers and facts do not lie. Worthy opponents, closer scrutiny will confirm that this is the target population of juvenile delinquency. Worthy opponents, doesn't this confirm the below average socioeconomic status disables our parents in harmful life transforming ways? Madam Moderator, is it fair to criminalize these poverty stricken parents who are struggling to make ends meet? Daily, they're distracted and preoccupied to make they're distracted and preoccupied with the hardship of basic survival and keeping a roof over their children's head. Yet, we want to lock them up and throw away the key? Really? Realistically speaking, the tragic opportunity cost of criminalizing these cash-strapped, destitute parents is more deprived teens becoming prey to delinquency. I thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. That was Catherine Pimentel, first speaker from the opposing team, the Clay Hall Secondary School, presenting her argument in a time of 5 minutes and 24 seconds. With the first round of speeches concluded, we now move to our second speakers. And we begin with the second speaker from the Antigua Girls High School. Please welcome to the lectern Ms. Jada K. King.
Madam Moderator, honorable judges, and respected audience, good evening. Having acknowledged my colleague's eloquent emphasis on the crucial role of parental involvement in shaping a child's behavior, I will now address the legal framework surrounding parental accountability. In this regard, laws are more than mere restrictions, they are critical tools to protect families and society as a whole. In particular, parental laws are designed to safeguard rights of both parents and children. Consider, for instance, the recently introduced Anti Gang Act. This law holds adults responsible for the actions of delinquent teenagers, recognizing that the role of parents in guiding their children is essential to shaping responsible adults. Additionally, in an article on ABS, Public Safety Minister Sir Stedroy Benjamin warns parents that they can face fines up to $5,000 if the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew for minors is not abided by their children, emphasizing parental responsibility. Both the act and curfew implemented have led to a decrease in juvenile crime rates, highlighting the positive impact of parental accountability. In both law and life, the relationship between principal and agent is crucial. For example, an electrician named Johnny works for a company. If Johnny makes a mistake, the company is held accountable because he represents them in his actions. Similarly, a child acts as an agent under the guidance of their parents, who acts as the principal. If this child causes harm or misbehaves, the parent is responsible because they guide and oversee the child's actions. This principle ensures that those with authority are held accountable for what occurs under their watch, maintaining fairness and justice. Madam Moderator, laws like these, they're meant to be protective, not punitive. They promote responsibility and respect, creating a safe environment for families and communities. In an interview with experts like Arthur Thomas Jr., attorney at law, and Justice Myers, they both suggested starting rehabilitation programs towards issues like financial struggles or single parent households. If these efforts fail, fines can be applied with a possible short sentence of up to 2 years for unpaid fines. Why should we shy away from implementing this structure? The harsh reality is when we fail to hold parents accountable, we all suffer. Families suffer, communities suffer, and innocent lives are destroyed. Moreover, the future generation, they'll inherit a broken society where responsibility and respect are no longer prioritized. Let's just look around. What do we see? Parents no longer truly parents. Yes, they pay rent, but they fail to provide the discipline and guidance needed. Instead, children are increasingly in control, dictating the terms of their upbringings. This is a reality we can no longer afford to ignore. It is imperative that we act now, implementing a strong legal framework that holds parents responsible before the damage becomes irreversible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jada K. That was Jada K. King, the second speaker from the proposing team, the Antigua Girls High School, presenting her argument in a time of 3 minutes and 21 seconds. We now turn to the final speaker in the prepared presentation this evening, and she comes from the Clear Hall Secondary School, who is opposing this evening. Please welcome Dacia Henry.
All protocols previously observed, good evening. Allow me to reinforce the sturdy foundation that my colleague would have laid. I stand resolutely against the assertion that parents should be held criminally responsible for the behavior of their delinquent teenagers. I will further consolidate our position by addressing 1. Punishing parents, no deterrence to juvenile crime, and 2. Criminalizing parents aggravate rather than ameliorate the problem. Firstly, honorable judges, numerous studies have overwhelmingly suggested that punishing parents does not significantly, if ever, reduce juvenile crime rates and may even exacerbate issues. Madam Moderator, from as early as 1903 to the early 60s, in a national and intense effort to hold parents criminally responsible for their children's crimes, the USA enacted parental punishment laws. In fact, by 1961, 48 of the 50 states had parental responsibility laws on the books. Paradoxically, Victoria Kane, in her Time magazine article entitled The Problem with Punishing Parents for Their Kids' Crimes, observes the laws didn't actually deter crime. Moreover, legal scholar Ellen Marie Shong amplified the inefficacy of laws to hold parents criminally responsible for their delinquent teenagers' behaviors by stating, and I quote, it had become clear that parental responsibility statutes were mostly a farce, end quote. Secondly, criminalizing parents for their teenagers' delinquent behavior in most cases aggravate rather than ameliorate the problem. In fact, Madam Moderator, according to a study conducted by UNICEF titled More Harm Than Good, and I quote, punishing parents could create a hostile family dynamic, thereby obstructing communication and efforts to address the root causes of teenagers' bad behavior, end quote. Where the opponents, the negative fallout of this practice is chilling. Already dysfunctional and vulnerable families, criminalizing parents would inevitably make an already bad financial predicament worse. Consider the lethal impact of court-imposed fines or legal fees on the families. Consider the possibility of job loss and the difficulty making ends meet. consider facing incarceration, which can result in mental health challenges, which further have potential to plunge the family into financial abyss. Where the opponents, the litany of negative fallout as a result of criminalizing parents for their delinquent teenagers demands serious rethinking and retooling for the eradication of juvenile delinquency. The massive, intricate, and delicate tentacles of this problem extend far beyond blaming parents, enacting parent responsibility laws here in Antigua and Barbuda. Honorable judges, when children who become criminals grow up in violent communities, who's really to blame for their actions? At what age are people ultimately responsible for for their own behavior? How much control can a parent reasonably exercise over an older teenager? These factors are strenuous to parents. Why criminalize them? Where the opponents, instead of blaming parents, want to be responsible, sensible, and judicious to focus on the root cause or the factors that contribute to juvenile delinquency. Furthermore, opponents, are we scapegoating parents because the law enforcement has not been able to solve the gang problem? Madam Moderator, it's time to stop skirting and skimming over this ominous societal plague by reducing its cause solely and superficially to parental responsibility. I submit to the other extenuating factors play a great role in juvenile delinquency. Let's stay focused. I thank you.
Thank you, Dashia. Do I have it right? Is it Dashia? Desha. Thank you, Desha. That was Desha Henry, the second speaker from the opposing team, the Clay Hall Secondary School, presenting her argument in a time of 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Please, a huge round of applause for all our debaters so far in the prepared presentation. Next, it's time for the rebuttals. But first, we will hear a word from our sponsor, Caribbean Union Bank, and on the other side, the rebuttals will begin. Please stay with us.
Driven by you, we're better every day. Driven by you, together a brighter way. Caribbean Union Bank, you matter to us. Caribbean Union Bank, our people, our purpose. Every day at Caribbean Union Bank, we are committed to creating the kinds of products and services that you want and need. We are not just a bank. We are your partner on your journey to financial freedom and success. Because we are driven by you. Driven by you, we're better every day. Driven by you, together a brighter way.
Thank you for staying with us and welcome back to this our third encounter in round 2 of the Caribbean Union Bank Inter-Secondary School Debate Series. In this evening's encounter, we have the Antigua Girls High School coming up against the Clay Hall Secondary School, debating the moot. Parents should be held criminally responsible for the behaviors of their delinquent teenagers. If you are just joining us, you are just in time for the rebuttals, where speakers will challenge and critique the opposing team's arguments. The opposing team, the Clay Hall Secondary School, will present first, while the Antigua Girls High School will close out this evening's rebuttals. Each rebuttal speaker has 3 minutes to present their counter arguments. A reminder to each rebuttal speaker that a bell will sound once at the 2-minute mark and twice at the conclusion of the 3 minutes. Let's begin our rebuttals. Please welcome to the lectern the rebuttal speaker from the Clay Hall Secondary School, Catherine Pimentel.
Good evening, Madam Moderator. Firstly, I would like to state my colleague and I are aware that the sporadic cases where parents may be held responsible, being that they intentionally aid or abet or are accomplices to juvenile crimes. Former South African President Nelson Mandela stated that education is the most powerful weapon in changing the world. Yes, we must educate our students in proper behavior. We must educate them, and education does start in the home. But children are also exposed to other educations, being in schools or extracurricular activities. We must ensure that our children are being exposed to proper education because that is what we need to ensure that they become proper adults in society. Firstly, second speaker stated in cases of unsafe household, rehabilitation programs have been implemented in the country. My colleague and I completely disagree, as these care homes have never been strong enough to ensure of the safety of our students. Firstly, the Sunshine Home for Girls can only house 12 girls between the ages of 8 and 18. What happens to the other girls who simply do not fit in the home, or girls who do not fit in the age range? What about 7-year-olds? Or what about girls that are 19? And a teenager is between the ages of 13 and 19. That's my main point. Because yes, we have rehabilitation centers, we have foster care, but who is supervising that these homes actually work? And that brings me back to my 8 workers. The CPS program only consists of 8 workers. 8 workers over 15,000 children. I simply do not deem that as possible. Secondly, the first speaker stated that children cannot make decisions for themselves. Personally, and the law also states that a child from the age of 12 years old is accountable for whatever actions that they commit. Yes, psychologically, I'm sure that this has been tested, that a 12-year-old is in full conscious of what they do and the actions that they commit. The government is also accountable for safeguarding our children. Why wouldn't they? They safeguard our country. If simply the child's home is not deemed safe enough, or is not educated enough to guide a child in the right footsteps, why can't a child depend on the government? Why can't they lean on the government for help? And that brings me back to the rehabilitation centers. Yes, they're sent to these rehabilitation centers, but who is safeguarding these? Elders also love to say that you can lead a horse to the water, but you cannot force it to drink. And you can give a child everything, but you cannot give it the mind. The government should be a child's second place. The government should be proper, that a child can go to if anything. And the government should also supervise that these homes who have children under the age of 18 are in proper care and are able to properly raise our children. I rest my case.
Thank you, Catherine. That was Catherine Pimentel presenting rebuttal arguments on behalf of the opposing team, the Clear Hall Secondary, and she did so in a time of 2 minutes and 58 seconds. Now, let's hear from the rebuttal speaker from the Antigua Girls High School. Please welcome to the lectern Miss Jada K. King.
Honorable judges, esteemed opponents, and respected audiences, I stand before you to refute my opponent's points against holding parents criminally responsible for the actions of their delinquent teenagers. My opponents, you would have asked the question, why hold parents criminally responsible? I'm going to assume this question is relating to individual responsibility. Now, during my personal research, I came across a term called vicarious liability in law. Allow me to put this term into a real life situation. So I remember a time when I was in first form and I lost my textbook. And bookkeeper manager said to me that my mother had to pay for my textbook. As a result, a trip I had planned with my friends that weekend could not happen because the money that was supposed to be spent on that trip was instead spent on said textbook. Now, in fourth form, looking back at the situation, I can tell you I haven't lost the book since then because that experience prompted my mother to be more aware of my actions, which led to me becoming more responsible. Secondly, why punish responsible parents, you ask? As my colleague said, parents have a legal responsibility. And like you said, my opponents, train up a child in the way that he should go, even when he's old, he will not depart from it. And likewise, if a child is raised right, other external forces that you mentioned should not prompt them to behave in a delinquent manner. Lastly, you said that holding parents criminally responsible aggravates families with financial burden, and we sympathize with these families. That is why the procedures that were previously suggested by the proposition are to be implemented. In summary, holding parents criminally responsible for the actions of their delinquent teenagers not only helps to create more engaged, more informed, and more involved parents, it also reduces the delinquency of youth, thus creating a safer and better Antigua. My worthy opponents, when parents allow their vulnerable, unsupervised children, underage girls, to dress promiscuously out in the wee hours of night, we must hold them responsible when they aid and abet They allow their children to have things in their homes they know they did not give them. We must hold them accountable, not just responsible, but criminally responsible. With these words, we the proposition rest our case. Thank you.
Thank you, JDK. That was JDK King presenting rebuttal arguments on behalf of the proposing team, the Antigua Girls High School, and she did so in a time of 2 minutes and 20 seconds. A well earned round of applause for both teams this evening for their critical thinking, deep arguments presented, and overall analysis of this evening's moot. Now, it is time for the judges to deliberate. Who will advance to the next round? Will it be Antigua Girls High School or the Clay Hall Secondary School? Stay with us, and you will find out when we return after hearing from our sponsor, Caribbean Union Bank.
Driven by you, we're better every day. Driven by you, together a brighter way. Caribbean Union Bank, you matter to us. Caribbean Union Bank, our people, our purpose. Every day at Caribbean Union Bank, we are committed to creating the kinds of products and services that you want and need. We are not just a bank. We are your partner on your journey to financial freedom and success. Because we are driven by you. Driven by you, we're better every day. Driven by you, together a brighter way.
Thank you for staying with us to the conclusion of this evening's debate, which featured the Antigua Girls High School and the Clay Hall Secondary School. They debated the moot. Parents should be held criminally responsible for the behaviors of their delinquent teenagers. Now, let us hear the final decision. I now invite Mr. Kieran Murdoch to present the judge's report and to announce the winner of this evening's encounter. Please welcome him as he comes.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to begin by congratulating both teams for presenting their arguments here this evening. As we always say, coming from the judges' table, it's not always the easiest of things to come up and present in front of a crowd, to maintain your composure and to deliver a solid argument. So we commend them and we ask you that you give them a round of applause. Now, I'll just put in a point here. I'm not sure if a judge has ever mentioned this before, but it's a democratic process in terms of who does the presentation. So whoever you see from the judges' table at any one of these debates come up, it's because there was a vote. So the other two judges outvoted them. Yeah, so a little bit of humor there to get us started. But I won't be long. Again, we want to commend the debaters for a solid debate this evening, and we'd like to, as we usually do, just provide some feedback and some pointers to help the debaters improve as they go along in their debating careers. One of the things that we thought it was important to speak about this evening um, was pace and delivery in terms of how debaters deliver their arguments. Focusing not so much on the content right now, but on, as I said, how you deliver. We want to ensure, or we want to encourage debaters to ensure that they are pacing themselves, that they are not too slow, but they are also not too fast. Sometimes, if you're speaking a bit too fast, you can end up chopping off your words. It's something that my own teachers and even my parents would chastise me about years gone by when I was still a youth. Even though somehow people tell me I still fall in the bracket of youth. I don't know about that. But anyway. So modulation is important, your pace and how you deliver. Also, in terms of how you use your voice and the level at which your voice is at, or you raise and drop your voice. You want to avoid at times, if ever it happens, try to pick it up, and your team members can try to pick it up in practices as well. You want to avoid at times ever sounding like you are almost singing from a hymn sheet. You're making the same sounds over and over. You don't want to sound almost sing-songish. It's something that may happen from time to time across the board in terms of of debaters throughout the different schools, and it's something that you can pick up in practice and you can address so that you can ensure that your delivery sounds genuine. Um, and the more genuine it sounds, is the stronger it is. Now, in terms of another point we wanted to touch on, we also wanted to touch on the use of sources. We want to commend the debaters for their research for this evening's debate. And as usual, we'd like to encourage them to use as many sources as possible, and to let them know that localized examples tend to strengthen their arguments better than others. Now, that does not necessarily mean that examples from elsewhere do not hold sway. Particularly examples from the region, for example, can hold sway because you may be looking at other countries with similar population sizes, similar cultures, similar frameworks, and if you don't have, let's say, an example to draw on locally, uh, it's totally admissible to refer to a regional example. But we would encourage as much as possible persons to try to localize those examples or regionalize those examples. Um, but nonetheless, that does not mean that international examples are not admissible as well. So uh, we found that there was commendable use of sources, and that is, of course, something that we wanted to raise. In terms of the rebuttal, and this will be my final point in terms of our feedback, we do want to encourage debaters to, I think, perhaps the best approach you can take, again, practice makes perfect, would be to rehearse that ability to try and pick up on the points that your opponent is making. We thought that both teams displayed some challenge this evening in terms of being able to adequately recall and understand exactly what their opponent would have said, and then to effectively address that. We know that the rebuttal is this most challenging part of the debate. You have to be prepared to do it on the spot, and that can be a little nerve wracking. Sometimes it can be very nerve wracking. But nonetheless, we want to commend the debaters for a very strong attempt and delivering the rebuttals this evening. But once again, point recollection and effectively dealing with the rebuttal, that is something that is going to only come from practice, where as a practice team, you have one side being the proposition, one side being the opposition, and you accustom yourself to, on the cuff, dealing with their points in a paced and controlled way. So, with all of that talking, I'm going to get to the results. Um, I'm going to deal with the better and best speakers first. The better speaker for the proposition being the Antigua Girls High School, we found to be the first speaker, Ms. Kiara Frank. And the better speaker from the opposition, the Clare Hall Secondary School, we found to be Ms. Catherine Pimentel. We found that the best overall speaker was the first speaker from the Clare Hall Secondary, Ms. Catherine Pimentel. Now, in terms of the overall scores, we have the Antigua Girls High School with an overall score of 67 points. And we have the Clare Hall Secondary School with an overall score of 71.8 points. So congratulations to both teams, and congratulations to the Clare Hall Secondary for winning this evening's encounter.
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch, for your detailed presentation and for officially announcing the winner of this evening's encounter. Let's extend our appreciation to our panel for their dedication and professionalism in adjudicating this evening's encounter. Please give them a round of applause. I also wish at this time to join with Mr. Murdoch in congratulating the better debater on the side of the proposing team, the Antigua Girls High School, Miss Kiara Frank, and the better debater and also judge the best overall debater this evening on the side of the opposing team from the Clare Hall Secondary School, Miss Catherine Pimentel. And congratulations, of course, to the Clare Hall Secondary School for advancing to the next round. We will, yes, give them a round of applause. We will now hear final remarks from both teams, and we begin with the proposing team, the Antigua Girls High School. Please welcome Miss Kiara Frank.
Good evening. First and foremost, I would like to thank God. Secondly, I would like to thank my hardworking teammates and coaches, as well as parents and teachers who helped along the way. I would especially thank Justice Myers and Arthur Thomas Jr., attorney at law, for their expert opinion and advice. To the EBU team who made this all possible, thank you.
Thank you, Kiara. We now ask Miss Daisha Henry from the Clear Hall Secondary School to come forward to offer final remarks.
Good evening. I would first, I'd first like to thank the Almighty for bringing us all here safely. Then the school for Miss Richardson for making our script, for helping us, coaching us, Miss Edgel, Miss Clark, my mother for helping me study, helping me practice the rebuttals, my team, Catherine, the supporters, everybody, and my opponents. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisha. And I saw one of your teammates pointing at himself that you forgot to mention him. But I'm sure that he did contribute. All right. We say thank you to your listening and viewing audience for being with us this evening. And as we conclude, remember, debate empowers us to think critically, communicate effectively, and engage with diverse viewpoints. It fosters confidence, sharpens reasoning skills, and prepares us to navigate complex issues with clarity and conviction. Through debate, we become not just better speakers, but more informed and thoughtful individuals. Join us next week for another exciting encounter in the 2025 Caribbean Union Bank Intersecondary School Debate Series, when the Seventh day Adventist Secondary School will face off with the Pierce Secondary School debating the moot. The Universal Secondary Education Policy in Antigua and Barbuda has proven to be beneficial. Until then, I have been your moderator, Alicia Knowles. Thank you for being a part of this evening's encounter. Do have a wonderful evening and God bless.